Hey folks, we might have a bit of a problem with Tears of the Kingdom. No, not a delay, don't worry. At least not yet. Kidding. Touch wood to not jinx it. Anyway, the problem that I'm talking about is actually an in-game one, and whilst that might sound odd regarding we haven't seen any in-game footage yet, it's actually in relation to the game's predecessor, Breath of the Wild. The problem being, how will Tears of the Kingdom handle the transition between these two games? It's a direct sequel to Breath of the Wild, which, funny enough, was left on a bit of a soft cliffhanger. How will Tears of the Kingdom actually start off? Will it be directly after this ending where Link and Zelda make a plan to head to Divine Beast Faruta? Will there be some sort of small time jump? Or will it be something else that we might not be expecting? What happens to Link's obtained hearts, gear, and whatnot? That's the problem that needs to be solved, and probably already has, as the game is likely finished, or near finished right now at the time of recording this video. But we don't know how the problem was dealt with yet. Only the developers do. So let's discuss that. And real quick before we do, I recently recorded a Zelda fanfic by Abiju as an anniversary gift to my partner. It's a bit saucy and above my usual level of spiciness here, but it's all tagged with the contents and whatnot. If you like Zelda fanfics and want to hear my recording of this amazing one, or just the fic in general, then check out the link below. Now, be sure to go and grab yourself a snack or drink and send them in to get featured right here. And also be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps the channel out. And let's get into this one. So, Breath of the Wild ended on this hill. Sadly, not a cliff, because then we could make a bunch of cheesy cliffhanger jokes. The game was left on a soft cliffhanger. Princess Zelda reports a problem with Divine Beast Faruta, and suggests that we should go there. End of. 2 and a bit years after this game came out, a sequel was announced to be in development. From this moment in 2019, I was already thinking about if and how this ending would connect to the sequel, which we now know is called Tears of the Kingdom. The first part of solving this problem is literally where will the sequel start and will it explain how the first game left off? For me personally, I don't think it will start going right off this ending, not at this hill, nor at Zora's Domain investigating the mentioned issue. That would be very cool, but I don't see it being the case personally. Yes, this is a sequel, but going off the 3 current trailers combined, I think the focus has heavily shifted to it being its own game, as well as the sky. Which it always was, but I mean in a way of trying to separate from Breath of the Wild a bit more than before. Now I'm not knocking down the idea of a flashback to this scene and what happened after, but I can't see the game actually kicking off with this. I think this was made just for funsies basically, not with this sequel fully in mind. What I personally think will be done to tackle this is a time jump of some kind. Probably not by that much, at most a year, but probably more just a few months following the events of Breath of the Wild. And I say a few months to around a year at most because I don't think it'd be fair for the people of Hyrule to go through this straight into this. Give them some time off, and at some point within this roughly a year jump, Link and Zelda then will have a reason to explore deep below Hyrule and find the source of some suspicious stuff going on, kicking off the adventure. That time jump won't actually take us, the player, to starting the game with this whole investigation below Hyrule though. I imagine we'll start off in a settlement like Heiteno, maybe with Pura, and after a little intro and mainly catching up on whatever's happened over the past year following Calamity Ganon's sealing, we'll get to work. That is obviously very speculative and a wild fanfic if you will, as well as one of many ideas. I'm also very much on board of the idea of us starting off in the sky, Link waking up here and just realizing he's in the sky, and we have to learn why he's in the sky. The point being, none of this is facts, those are just ideas. The main point I'm making is that I feel there will be a time jump of some kind, in the length of a few months to around a year post Breath of the Wild. But there are still other questions to answer with this transitioning between games problem. What happens to Link's gear, hearts, and all of that fun stuff that we earned in the first adventure? Well, obviously this is a new game, and in reality for game playability reasons, things like hearts and all the random gear you had will obviously reset and be gone. Sorry, but you cannot carry over that one specific shield you love. It's not carrying over your progress if you ask me. But some major things should be questioned in terms of the in-game lore. Mainly the Master Sword and Sheikah Slate, 2 items we saw in that ending scene of Breath of the Wild. Well, we see Link with the blade in the 2019 trailer, but do we actually start the gameplay with the sword? It's seen taking damage, but we don't actually know if the moment we start being able to control Link that we'll have the sword. For all we know, this cave adventure, where he's seen with the sword, could all be a big opening cutscene. The time placements for all these shots are wild and hard to place so far. It would certainly be different and new if we started a Zelda game with the big weapon in hand. Personally, I don't want us to start with it, but that could just be because it's never happened, and the blade always feels like a big reward to receive. Going off this little teaser clip, I think the adventure will be a lot of repairing the Master Sword. So maybe we do start with it or get it early on, but it's not functional. However, it's looking like we very well could. I don't know, but it is a problem, so to say, that the game needs to tackle and explain. Not majorly compared to dealing with the time frame transition, but still something. Another part to deal with is explaining what happened to the Sheikah Slate. Never mind the towers and shrines that have disappeared, what happened to this thing that Zelda's clearly holding here? We see Zelda fascinated to have it again here, but she doesn't appear to have it during this adventure, which I find odd. We know she loves the thing. Could it have been given to Pura or Robbie to do some work on it? Maybe. That would be a pretty solid answer, but it's just another thing that this game's gonna have to solve/explain. Now, how does the game explain the reset of hearts? Of course, this is just a new game thing. It wouldn't make sense to start the game with full hearts or loads of hearts, but in lore, with Breath of the Wild specifically, Link does have to strengthen up in order to be able to pull the blade. Is he weakened at some point, or will this just go down to one of those gameplay ability things to avoid overcomplicating things? Personally, I think it will simply just be a playability thing and given no explanation. I mean, why would it really? It's a video game and not everything needs an explanation, especially given that hearts, hit points, or life force, whatever you want to call it, is something that should always start low and increase as you go, marking your progress. At least in the case of Zelda games. Although, going back to that idea of Link potentially starting in the sky and us not knowing why, maybe they're drained there, maybe Link got hurt. I don't know. I've seen a lot of people online ask about these sort of things, particularly about what happens to our gear and hearts from the first game, and honestly, it's just gonna get wiped. That's my take. An easy explanation for the gear missing is that Link's adventure ended here. He probably let go of nearly all that junk you were carrying. The Sheikah Slate likely went to Pura or Robbie. The Master Sword question is very hard to answer though, but perhaps the next trailer, likely in February, will answer that. It is very intriguing as to how that will be dealt with. To conclude this mess of a video, whilst that is what I am thinking will happen the most currently, from the transition between each game's story to the gear and hearts, I will admit that I can see this going in so many different ways. This is all my own speculative thoughts. I could see the game beginning with Link waking up in the sky. I could see it beginning already in the caves. I could, to a degree, see it kicking off from here directly. These all have different likelihoods in my eyes, but I admit they are all possible. I'm sure when the next trailer drops, very likely in February, that we'll have a bit of a better idea. Hopefully gameplay too. Please Nintendo. That is the problem, so to say, that I think Tears of the Kingdom needs to deal with. Those were some of my thoughts on how I think they could potentially deal with it, and as mentioned at the beginning, this has probably already been dealt with in terms of development. The game's probably done. I'm sure it'll be fine when we're playing the game and probably not even thinking about this due to our extreme excitement. As always, we'll have to wait and see. Let me know your thoughts down below and I shall read and reply to as many as possible very soon. Be sure to drop a wee like down below if you enjoyed, and also consider subscribing for more fabulous Zelda content. Both would make my day. Follow my socials linked below to keep up to date, and as always a huge massive amazing shout out goes to all of my channel supporters. Thanks a ton. Your support really helps me to make these videos week in, week out, all month long, 365 days a year. If you'd like to join them and get yourself a shout upon joining and your name at the end of every video, then consider supporting via the links below. Thanks for watching. I hope you all have an amazing day or night, and until the next time, I've been Hyrule Gamer.